got put to rest. All this money on me, I don't never stress. I'm the one to shoot that bitch with 1 second left. Nigga, you ain't never done. All right, enough of the bullshit. Turn Kwani bitch ass off. All right, we about to get right on into this review. I didn't even take a trade today, so we gonna pick which one we want to review. NAS looks like it just died all day. Keep it a buck. Okay, 30 died too. Okay, everything died. Did DXY fly? Alright, makes sense. Judging from the 3 pairs that I just did a very in-depth check, I'm going to do NAS100. Alright, so there's a few areas in price that I kind of am pointing interest in. So this wick right here is something I'm interested in. You may be asking why. We'll get into that. Hold the fuck on. But alright, so let's get right into there. We're gonna start off by doing a 3-point analysis we always do. Previous day's high, previous day's low. As you can see, the previous day's low was ran through, previous day's high was held intact, meaning what? Overall, it was a bearish day. We don't need to be mad scientists to understand that. It's easy chart mathematics. This is going down, ran the low, so it was a bearish day. Simple as that. But this wick here is going to be the main area that I think that is going to be important. Why? Because for one, I don't trade any session for the most part besides the New York. London session is the only other session I'll trade, but of recent, the moves haven't been ideal. But right here at 10 a.m., I think there is something in here that we're going to be able to capitalize off of. But first things first, let me go to other time frames such as the daily and everything so I can kind of get an idea on where price is at. What is this weekly fair value gap right in here? This is a weekly fair value gap. Okay, that was from yesterday, so okay. I'm just kind of, one thing I like to do, I like to start off in the higher time frames and work my way down when it comes to finding areas that price has rejected off of. Was this a 10 a.m. wick? Oh, wait. Is this a 4-hour fair value gap that price held? Or is it right here? Okay. It looks like it held that gap. And which one am I showing you? I'm showing you the one on the 4-hour. The 4-hour gap from this low on this bullish candle, which was the 4-hour candle on Tuesday, 17th October 2023. So that's the area of where price held when it comes to an imbalance. Because if you guys understand how I trade in the sense 2 ways. I either wait for price to run above an old high or low, and then I look to basically reverse that fake breakout, or I look to see if price is already in a trend, and then I wait for it to come back into a fair value gap to then potentially take price off of that. Those are the 2 ways I trade. Simple as that. So even though I didn't take a trade today, based off of what I'm seeing in price within the time frame and time zone, the best trade that I would have been able to catch would have been around that 9:30 to 10 o'clock time. Let me go to the 30-minute. So price did tap into that 4-hour fair value gap right in there at 9:30. So at 9:30 and 10 o'clock. So you may be asking, how and why would you have taken a trade here if you were? Because like I said, I didn't take a trade. So the first thing that always comes first is timing. This move took place at 9:30 to 10 a.m., which is the frame that I'm actively on the charts looking for a trade. So anything before, I wouldn't have paid it no mind. So 9:30, 10 a.m., we had price retrace into 4-hour fair value gap. Simple. But that's not the only confirmation in here. There's going to be probably 2-3 major reasons behind why price did what it did. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a fib from this previous day's high to that previous day's low. And would you look at that? Price also came into this area of a discount. So within this range from yesterday's low, I drew this fib all the way wrong. But I just like to measure it of an area of discount from the previous day's highs and lows. So if you know the fibs from yesterday's video, the 62 to 88%, that's just showing me a zone. So within this whole zone up here is ideally a good area where you would expect price to potentially look to fall off. And as you can see, as price came into it, which was also in alignment with this time and fair value gap, and then you can see price fell down lower. But there's also one major thing that I also like to look for. I kind of gave you guys a little bit of a very brief explanation on it. I like to look for false breaks. And a false break, I'll go over it again just to be, matter of fact, still here. Look, there you go, false break. Instead of breaking out and price just flying higher and flying higher, I essentially look to reverse those moves. So in this case, where would I have been able to reverse these moves? Because you can find reversal moves on any time frame, depending on the type of trader you are. Me personally, I'm intraday. I like the 1 hour time frame, 1 hour, 30-minute. That's valid for me. Now in this case, one thing I was looking to see if it did was if it ran the London high, because London is one of the session highs and lows, along with Asian session, along with New York session. Those are major sessions that I like to watch for. But in this case, price made the craziest double top ever. Okay, I missed it by what? Half a point? Okay, that's nice. So in this case, it didn't really run this high, but the high that it did run was right below it. So instead of it running this 1 a.m. high, it looks to have run the 4 a.m. high. So the 4 a.m. high got ran through right here, leaving this London high intact, which was what? This London high over here is the high of the day. So London session at 1 a.m. created the highest point in price action for the entire day. Now on a very good day, on a normal day, on a day that you could expect something to happen, more than likely that London high would have got ran through. But you know how prices sometimes it just comes close as fuck and don't do shit. And if you would have been waiting for a price to run that high, you would have never got it, and you would still be waiting right now. You'd be a very sick man. But now let's get back into the reasoning. So going all back into what we were explaining, at 9:30 to 10 a.m., we had a retracement into the 4 hour fair value gap, along with the fib short. And all the fib is measuring an area of premium or discount. Are we in an area where we're likely to see price keep going higher, or an area that we're likely to keep going lower? In this case, the higher price was in this range was going to give us the better area to be able to sell at. It was going to allow us to sell at a higher price. And if we were to say, for example, I don't know, let me invert my whole chart. Can I invert it? Wrong button. There we go. If we were to look at it this way, the same thing. If this was an upside down chart, right down here, this zone in our fib would have gave us the best discount on price to buy at. But in this case, that's not what happened. We were selling. I wasn't selling, but the price sold. So this gave us the best discount for price. So at this point, we have the 4 hour fair value gap, the fib short, and along with, what else was it? It ran that high. So we had the 4 a.m. high ran. London, I'll make this in its own. So we had the 4 a.m. high that got ran. And right up here, where I'm about to put this other arrow, is going to be the 1 a.m. high of the day. And there's a reason I like to pay attention to when the highs and lows of the day are made, because the main thing that you guys want to take away, if you want to get a little tip, London session creates the high and low of the day. I say maybe 50% of the time, maybe even 60% of the time, depending on the weeks. But in this case, like yesterday, right over here, London made the high of the day before having a major drop off. London high did get ran at 12 a.m. It looks very similar to what could have happened today, but it didn't. If you go to the day before, the London 4 a.m. low was the lowest low. Right over here, we had the 3 a.m. high, which was the high of the day. Had a big drop before eventually getting ran through and then dropping. And then you get the gist. There's a high chance that the London session can create the high or low of the day. So I like to mark up the times that happen. I like to figure out what days is likely to happen. So at today, which is Wednesday, 1 a.m. made the high of the day. And then where did price run to? Since it was a bearish day, where is somewhere we would likely to see it? Now, this is all hindsight. Yes, I could easily say, oh, it ran for the previous day's low after the fact. But one thing you guys always want to remember is if the previous day was bearish, more than likely the previous day's low is going to get ran to. If the previous day is bullish, more than likely the previous day's high is going to get ran to. It's just keeping it simple. It doesn't mean that there's a 99% chance that this is going to happen. You just want to align yourself with what is more likely going to happen, because at the end of the day, this is a risk management game. It's a probability game. It's a numbers game. You got to understand your edge and the statistical probability that your trade is going to play out. And that's when it comes down to having case studies and having things actually written down. So where and how would I have been able to capitalize on this trade? So in my opinion, me going off of what I'm saying, I would have been looking to potentially maybe been looking to short around this 4 hour for value gap, expecting it not to run the London high. But if I would have been waiting for it to run the London high, I simply, like I said, I would have never got the trade, and I would still be waiting here right now for that shit to happen. So let's just being conservative. If I would have been looking to short around there with a 30-point stop, which is ideally what I like to look for, honestly, probably would have got stopped out, even though I would have been potentially right on the direction. It's just the type of thing where that 30-point stop that I usually use wouldn't have got held. And if I would have had a 40 would have been good, but I would have been waiting a while for my 1 to 2. My 1 to 2 would have got hit. As a matter of fact, it got hit within that same candle. Nonetheless, I didn't take that trade. This is all just hindsight, all just looking back at what I could have did to take advantage of this trade. And in my opinion, I'm kind of glad I didn't take any trades today, because for the most part, it just trended lower. It's the middle of the week. It looks like prices shifting from being bullish from the Friday to Monday, Tuesday. It's now being bearish. So with that being said, this is going to be the little review on NAS100. So I'm going to get rid of all that. But I'm also going to go into the daily time frame, and I'm going to kind of give you guys a little bit of what I'm expecting. So as you can see, yesterday's daily candle closed below 1, 2, 3 other daily closes. We did have a wick, which could lead price to potentially go back into this range to end the week, and maybe we just consolidate. That's just based off the daily. Okay. Now we come to the weekly, and I'm getting a little bit more information. We are bearish right now, but last week's candle isn't a major bearish candle. It is a little bit of a doji. So I still think there may be room to the upside, but also keeping in mind this week we already made a major high. We've already went pretty high. But one thing I will be keeping my eye on is if we're going to be holding this weekly fair value gap right here. And I'm just going to put a W on it so I know what time frame it is. We're going to go back to the daily. You can see that's kind of where we are right now. Now, if I also want to do something else, something I could do would be pulling my fib. And I just pulled a fib from the major range that I see. The major range that I see within price is going to be from this low to this high. There's not really any crazy reasoning behind it besides the fact that when I look at the chart, the lowest low and highest high I see within this range where price currently is this. So I still think there may be a little bit of room to the downside. If we're hovering around the 50%, let me get the 50%. Yeah, it's hovering around the 50%. So in my opinion, it's more of just, we just got to wait and see, because if price starts to show a willingness to reject and go higher a little bit, I think this could be a good area to potentially see buys. But if this candle just keeps melting, then like I said, I think there's going to be more room to try to come a little bit lower. Considering everything's already bearish, I think there may be more room to come lower. That's my personal bias. Where do I think it's going to run for? I at least want to see it come for this daily wick all the way down here. And once it runs there, we may be able to get some room to the upside. But I think more than likely, shorts are going to be the ideal position for the rest of this week. But I could be mistaken. Anything could happen overnight. If London just flies up, it could change everything. But based off of what I see, price didn't really leave any major fair value gaps within price for price to go any higher. So I really think we're just going to keep shorting. We may get a little pullback, maybe back into this 4-hour gap in here. Maybe. And then London makes the high to potentially keep going lower. But overall, for the most part, I still have a bearish bias to keep it as simple as possible. But with that being said, I'm just gonna end it right there. You got my opinion, you got my analysis. I ain't even take no trades today, so I don't really know what else you want from me. So with that being said, y'all boys stay safe, stay productive, and make sure, most important of all, fear being average. You don't want to be no average ass nigga. That ain't us. And if that is you, it won't be for much longer. Just gotta keep putting that work in. But I'm gonna see you guys soon. We active in the morning. I'm gonna have the live stream. I'm gonna have the Zoom. We gonna get back to it. And we gonna see if we take a W or L. So with that being said, I'll see you soon.